5. There was one case which was decided by Justice Shah, and he just said that Indira Gandhi has not contested the election in the right manner, so this is nullified. Now just on that statement, now that judgment, she had put the emergency, and then she had gone to the Supreme Court and got it ratified on a different platform. The similar thing happened on a Shah Banu case. You know, whatever doesn't suit one person, one party, one government, you bring it up in such a manner that, okay, you can, because the legislative is important. I'm not undermining the importance of the legislature, but at the same time, there has to be something which governs.
My intervention on this matter is, repeatedly Mr. Sanjay Tandon is saying that because the government is in vacuum, because it is. I want to ask him, in Karnataka, the Lok Ayukt there, Santosh Hegde, has indicted the Chief Minister and 4 ministers who are cabinet ministers in the government. What has this BJP party done? Have they disowned them? Now you see, when on one side you can't sort of hunt with the hounds and then run with the hares too. You've got to take a position and make it clear whether you want it this way or that. There,
I think we're getting
is overstepping, but in all other forms the judiciary is not overstepping.
Yesterday.
Well, it's time for us to take a short break. We're going to welcome back. After the break, we are discussing judicial activism. Justice Grewal, would you say the tension between the executive and the judiciary is good democracy? We're talking about tension and not hostility.
It's very healthy, in my opinion. It's a good thing. It's an open debate. We have a republic, and every citizen has a right. So they have certain rights, and the judiciary is the protector of those rights. And if some things go wrong, then judiciary steps in. But I don't know, your debate, we can go on till midnight because the topic is so vast. And there's so many aspects to it. But broadly speaking, I think that judicial activism should be confined to a very, very small area. Judiciary should concentrate on delivering justice to the people who are waiting for justice. And these kind of 2G scam and Commonwealth Games scam and this black money thing, this is a failure of the governance of the executive, because the executive has failed.
Would you agree with Justice Grewal?
To a large extent, yes, because I also believe that it's a double-edged sword. And I would also agree with Harpreet when he said that there are sometimes when you make up wrong precedents and then you can slip on that. This kind of precedent is called slippery slope. So you can also slip on the same slippery slope which you have created at some other time for some other purpose. So I think when judiciary acts, they have to act within the ambit of law. If there is no law, like in Vishakha in Rajasthan case where the Supreme Court held, if there is no law, we can even read the international treaty as law. I would agree with that statement, but going beyond that and making your own law when there is already an existing law, that would be wrong. Interpreting a law is absolutely okay. Interpreting the law in the interest of the common man is also okay. And filling a vacuum wherein the executives have failed, that would also be okay. But the moment you start making your laws when a law exists, I think that is wrong. And the second important thing is when you make unwarranted comments. If you see the judgments, you will see unwarranted comments coming out of many judgments, and these comments are not based on the case file, they are not part of the writ petition, and they come from somewhere. So a judge should not comment his own opinion on his own subjective opinion. This is what the Black's Law Dictionary defines activism as.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask Harpreet. Do you think that extreme interpretation from the Supreme Court, would you say that that goes a little extreme in certain ways?
It does in not certain cases, in many cases, because the opinion of the Supreme Court seems to be that they are the final protector of the people, and if they don't do something, then the government is not bothered and the bureaucracy is not going to do anything. And the interesting bit is that when a judge takes an oath, they don't take an oath to protect the rights of the people. Their oath is confined to upholding the law. Now, if tomorrow morning, let us say that the Parliament decided that we are going to abolish the death penalty, because we don't want it on the statute, we are a civilized country, most countries have abolished it. Would you find a judge who comes and says, well, that's all right, Parliament has abolished the death penalty, but I think that this case, this person has done very, very bad stuff, he deserves to be hanged. And I'm not going to listen to Parliament, I'm going to do what I want to do. That's not permissible. Therefore, A judge has to do what Parliament tells him to do.
All right.
The judge has the right to say, well, Parliament, you've made a law, but it conflicts with some part of the Constitution. And until you amend that part of the Constitution, you can't pass this kind of a law. The judge has the right to say that. But for the judge to say, because Parliament has not deemed it fit to make a law to cover this void, therefore I must do something, is
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. But actually on a different level, yes, that is one part. But do you think that the economic boom has come to such a level that the ruling class has forgotten about the real India?
So not true. I mean, it's a separate matter. Let me give you a very brief backgrounder. Today, the person standing next to you, should he smoke or not? What fuel must we use in our cars? Should a child go to school or not? All of these things are being ordered around by the esteemed courts. Now my question is, were they manifested for this purpose? Because according to me, courts were for courts of law, not courts of justice. Now while I say this, there have been some areas where the intervention of judiciary is helped. But do not ascribe that only because lack of governance. There have been times when the judiciary has done its job of interpreting law the way it is supposed to have been. And in large cases, it has been for those who have been poor and marginalized, where probably policymakers were not wise enough to create laws that were relevant to certain issues. Therefore, the courts have come in to interpret them correctly. But that in no way means that because there's an economic boom, so therefore the rich are getting the better of it. These are all very hypothetical things.
I think there's another important area of judicial, what you call judicial activism, but I call it judicial action. The action which is required out of the judiciary, that is stopping the mischief of the legislators. As of date, there are many laws which are being formulated by the Parliament. There are many bills which are pending in the Parliament. There are many bills which have been passed, which are motivated by a certain section of the people. Maybe in some cases, the allegation that they have been promoted by foreign countries and or foreign interests. So in that case, the judiciary has to step in. They have to correct the mischief of the legislators also. So that mischief need to be stopped. There are certain legislation with certain elements just creep into the basic legislation, and many times they are in conflict with the fundamental rights. They are in conflict with the Constitution. So at that point of time, judiciary has to step in.
That will lead to anarchy.
Let's bring Justice Grewal.
Well, I just want to make one point that when a law is drafted, the floor of the House, what is the level of debate? Do they discuss the various aspects of the rights of the people? Do they discuss Supreme Court judgments, whether the law is going to conflict with the settled law of the land? No. There's hardly, the quorum is complete and the law is passed. I mean, it is a very, very sad reflection on the legislature that they don't have the members are not up to the mark to discuss legal issues the way we are discussing. Do they? It's always on party lines, unfortunately.
Senator Tandon, do you think that's true?
You see, like, people get what they deserve and people choose what they like. You see, you cannot have a choice of that. Whosoever is chosen, it is chosen by the people. Like, if you have those type of people in the country, they will choose that kind of a representative. So we can sit outside and criticize that this thing is. But one point which Grewal Sahab mentioned earlier, I want to mention on that. He said that the judiciary should interfere on the small things. I rather feel opposite. They should interfere in the larger things.
No, I didn't say small, small area.
Small areas. So I feel they should interfere on the larger areas which affect the country as a whole. You see, like what Arshad had mentioned, that on the school thing or on the issue of a student, or like, these are not the issues which they should be taking up. Yes, the 2G spectrum issue, why not? Like, in 3 years, if you are not able to solve this
Harpreet,
issue,
do you think judiciary should interfere at all?
I
Larger
think-
issue, smaller issue, whatever issue?
No, the judiciary has no business in interfering. The judiciary is meant only for being an arbitrator of law. When a problem comes to them, they have to apply the law as it exists, regardless of their own personal opinions, regardless of how they feel outside the court. Just because they're wearing a funky robe doesn't mean that they have the right to express their opinions from a non-elected post. They have no right to do that. They have no business. It's like, take a very simple example. Let's say that there is a small town and like a Hindi movie, the police in charge says, I think what's happening is wrong and therefore I must fix it because there is a void.
I have a counter question on this. Like supposing, just a second.
Yes.
I have a counter question on this. Like supposing, in your case, hypothetically speaking, your child is going outside and somebody just attacks. You go and knock the door of the police is not helping you. Some reasons behind the scene, it doesn't suit a political party or whatever, so whosoever has done. Where would you go and how would you do something about it? This is just a second. This is a small case which I'm just picking it up. There you will say, yes, judiciary must interfere. Now the second point here it is, in this similar manner, if you explorate it to the larger effect for the country as a whole, something goes wrong totally. And the executives, they are totally sitting over the file. Nothing moves for 3 years. Then even then, if a judicial system interferes, why do we call it an activism? I think it is something which was required for the system. Somebody should have stepped in. Somebody should have corrected the things, and this is what they are doing. What we are in this discussion, we should be rather taking up the cases where a particular case where they have gone wrong.
Mr. Ranjan,
I think there's too much politics here in this country. Too little of activism. Now, if you've noticed in the last 10 days, how much has happened in England? And they didn't need the House of Lords to pass any ruling because they have a system, or the parliamentary committee has been set up and they have got the Prime Minister on the mat. He is there and their debates are going on. It's not halla gulla.
You see, do you think there's a lot of politics in our country? Do you agree?
No. I have a point to make on what Mr. Tandon said, which is I am all for election reforms, I am all for police reforms, and I am all there for those things that require change. But how should they be changed? They should be changed through the democratic form of parliament. They cannot be summarily and arbitrarily changed by intervention of courts. Just because something is wrong, two wrongs don't make a right. You don't do another wrong thing just because things are wrong.
There are two quick things which I would just like to add. Number one, which Harpreet is forgetting and which I think everybody is forgetting, Article 32 is part of the fundamental right. And the Supreme Court has every person has a first right to go to the Supreme Court to get his fundamental right and fundamental rights, and to ensure that the right of other people, which was later on enlarged by Justice P.N. Bhagwati and other, that to get the right of other people who are underprivileged enforced. So that is a part of fundamental right. The first thing. The second thing is that people, when they go to this court, they go, most of the cases which have gone to the Supreme Court or the High Court, they are under the writ jurisdiction, and in some cases what you call public interest litigation, these are the cases where the petitioner has said that the people in general, they are not interested, or they are too busy in their things, or they are so underprivileged or suppressed that they cannot come to the court. Somebody has to go to the court. If you see the Dyke and Thomas statue,
I'm really running
just one second. The Dyke and Thomas statue, you see the Justica, there's a band on the eye. So you have to weigh what is there in the case. If the evidence is in favor of something wrong being done, the court has to set it right. That is the duty of the courts.
Okay, I think we can just carry on with this, but very clearly, very broadly and briefly, thank you so much for being with us this evening. But very broadly, when the higher judiciary wraps governments, the normal reaction among the people is either a mild or a loud applause, but applause nevertheless. That's a sure sign of the executive failing to live up to promises, even simple ones. But the danger in all of this is that the courts perhaps take the role they have no business to be in, and like a weak executive serves no one's good. A strong reactive judiciary too displays the tendency to overreach and say much more than required, even playing to the gallery. So the balance has to be restored. With that, we end our Prime. We meet again tomorrow with another issue. Till then, it's good luck and goodbye.